3 days to grieve a lifetime of love. That's not grace. That's deprivation. If you ever felt like you had to rush your grief, hide your pain, or be okay before you were ready, this one's for you. Hey, lovely, what you're about to hear isn't a tutorial or a teaching or even a conversation in the traditional sense. It's a reflection, a space I needed to create because something in me cracked open when I began to understand what the word bereavement really means. Most of us are never truly taught how to grieve, let alone supported in it. We're told to move on, to be strong, to return to normal. But grief has never been about getting back to anything. Hi, it's Veronica, and this is where real love returns and ego dissolves. These reflections aren't lessons, they are reminders. No one can heal you, and I won't try to. This episode is an invitation to slow down and listen, not just with your ears, but with your breath, your body, your presence. Whether you're grieving a loved one, a version of yourself, or simply feeling the quiet ache of something lost, I hope this helps you remember you are not broken for feeling it. You are human, you are healing, and love is still available, especially here. So I've been sitting with something that really shook me. I was thinking about grief and how most of us aren't actually supported in it. We're not met, not held, not really given space to feel the loss. We're expected to keep functioning, to be strong, to get back to normal. And then I thought about the term bereavement leave. Why is it called that? Why don't we say grief leave? We say vacation leave, sick leave, maternity leave. Those are all straightforward. But bereavement, I looked it up, and it doesn't just mean grief, it means you've been deprived, stripped of something. It actually comes from the root that means to be robbed. That shocked me because it's true. You're not just sad when someone dies, you feel like something has been taken from you: presence, comfort, orientation, safety. And yet, you're given 3 days, 3 days to handle it, hold it together, and show back like nothing happened. 3 days to bury someone you love, to hold your breath through shock, to figure out how to breathe again without them. And that's when the phrase 3 days grace popped into my head. Yes, I know it's the name of a band, but this time it hit differently. What does grace really mean when it's given a time limit? Because that's what bereavement leave is: a window of grace, not for your healing, but for your productivity to pause before it resumes. But what if you can't move on in 3 days? What if you don't want to? The band once said, if you had 3 days to change something in your life, would you do it? And that hit me because when you're grieving, you're not just mourning someone else's absence. You're suddenly face to face with your own life. What matters, what's undone, what you've avoided, what you can no longer get back. But grief doesn't need urgency, it needs room, it needs presence. And this is the part that stays with me. 3 days is not grace. Grace isn't time bound. Grace is the spaciousness to feel what's real without being rushed, fixed, or minimized. So maybe the question isn't just, would you change something in 3 days? Maybe it's, what if the grace you need isn't about change, but about love, about being allowed to grieve, feel, and not perform for just a moment longer? Maybe grace is what happens, not in the pressure to return, but in the permission to remain. And yet, you're given 3 days. And even then, you're made to feel grateful for those 3 days, like it's a favor. But if you lose a pet, a close friend, or even a relative who doesn't qualify under the policy, you get nothing. It's messed up. It's an injustice, an obvious disregard for the depth of human emotion. Because the word bereavement is actually telling the truth. It admits you've been deprived, but the system doesn't offer you the presence or support you need to meet that deprivation. And that's the real issue. Grief isn't just emotional, it's relational. You lose someone, and at the same time, you lose your place, your mirror, your sense of stability. Grief isn't something you schedule, it's something you live through. What you need most is presence, space, and time. But what you get is pressure to be okay again. So I wanted to share this in case you've ever felt like you had to hide your grief or rush it or minimize it. You're not crazy. You're not weak. You've just been deprived of what was required to heal. And it's okay to want more. It's not just okay, it's your right to take more. You deserve and require presence, especially when what you've lost is presence itself. Grief doesn't only visit when someone dies, it arrives quietly, sometimes unexpectedly, when you release a version of yourself that no longer fits, when you shed an identity that once kept you safe, when you stop performing a role you were raised for, when you no longer cling to the mask that helped you survive. That's grief too. Grief lives in the space between who you were and who you are becoming. It's the echo of familiarity, of patterns, behaviors, and beliefs that once felt like home, even if that home was built on pain. And when you begin to let go of the attachment, the illusion, the protection, you're not just healing, you're grieving. Even if that self wasn't your truth, even if it was constructed in fear, it was still you who wore it. So, yes, the undoing of ego is a kind of death, but not a tragic one. It's the kind that frees you, the kind that asks you to feel the loss so you can make space for what's real. And here's where I want to invite you into something deeper. Make love your goal. Make time for grief. Make space for what's uncomfortable. Not so you can avoid future grief, but so you can meet it when it arrives. Grief will never feel the same twice, not for me anyway. Each time it arrives, it asks for something different. It brings its own rhythm, its own voice, its own need. So this isn't about becoming grief resilient or performing how well you cope. This is about presence, being with what is without rushing to fix, control, or explain it away. The more you allow yourself to be in presence, real, felt presence, healing will begin to move on its own because love will be there. And love makes space for healing to unfold. This is what mindfulness really is for, not just for calming your breath or focusing your thoughts, but being here, being in your life, being in love with yourself and with what is real. And I know maybe the systems we live in don't support that. Maybe your workplace, your culture, even your family hasn't made room for grief. But you can. You can show up for yourself today. And the more you practice that now, on ordinary days, the less likely you'll abandon yourself when you need it most. Because life is change with both a beginning and an end. Each chapter starts with something new, but also ends with something familiar. To honor your life, you have to honor the endings too, even the quiet ones. So start now. Start showing up with love now. Let love be your goal. Let presence be your practice. And when grief comes, and it will. You'll know how to meet yourself. You'll know how to ask for support with and from love, not fear. And you won't need to attach yourself to distractions or patterns that keep you from your wholeness. Because when love is present, healing is always within reach. So before we close, I want to invite you to pause with me just for a moment. Because all of this, grief, healing, presence, it isn't something to understand with the mind. It's something you feel your way through. So if it feels right, place a hand on your heart and let your body know that you are here. Let yourself feel your presence. Take 3 slow breaths with me. Inhale. Hear the word I. Exhale. Feel the word am. Again, inhale. Exhale. One more. Let this be a soft return to yourself. Now ask gently without needing to fix or solve. What am I holding right now? Can I make space for it? Let your breath stay soft. Let your shoulders fall. There's nothing to perform here, just presence. And if it helps, you can whisper this to yourself. I choose love. I choose presence, even here. This is how we begin, not through force, but through love. Not when we're ready, but when we're willing. And you just practice that. So thank yourself. And if something stirred in you today, don't rush away from it. Come back to this space. Come back to love. Because when love is present, healing is always within reach. If this reflection is resonating, I invite you to pause with it. Don't rush away. Let it move through your body. And if you feel called, share it with someone who may be grieving silently right now. Because sometimes presence begins with being reminded that you're not alone in what you feel. Thank you for listening. If something stirred in you today, stay with it. Maybe you don't need to understand it fully. Maybe you just need to make room for it to move. I'll be here holding the door open for love and presence whenever you're ready to return to them. If you'd like more reflections like this, please subscribe or connect through my site linked in the description. There's more waiting for you there. And until next time, be gentle with your grief, be honest with your healing, and let love be your goal. Always. Thank you.